Good morning, everyone. Kevin here from Skywatcher, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. Happy Friday. The webcast is something that we do just to cover all things astronomy, from what's up into the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks for observing and imaging. And then, of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest on to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. So thanks for hanging out and spending your Friday morning with us. These are generally live episodes, and if you missed it or you want to go back and check something out later, these are also recorded on our YouTube channel afterwards. So if there's an episode you want to go back and check on, they are all here. I think this is episode... Which one are we on? Episode 73 today. So we've been doing this for almost 2 years now. So thanks for everybody who's been watching and supporting it. If you do like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it. It does help a lot and helps keeps doing this for us. If you have any questions on the What's Up Webcast or have a topic you want us to take a look at, go ahead and do info@skywatcherusa.com. Title it What's Up Webcast, and that way we can get to it and answer any of those questions for you. Please leave a like and subscribe to the like for a video, and then subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this going for us, so we can keep sharing content with you guys. So thanks very much. If you want to know how to do it, you can go up to our website at skywatcherusa.com and pop up there. If you want to keep up with what the topic of the week is going to be, we do an email blast every week around Wednesday, I believe is when that goes out, telling you what the topic is for the month. You can go ahead to our website, hit subscribe to our newsletter. It's also going to keep you up to date with any specials coming out as well. So that's how you do that. So yeah. So it is October 1st as of today. I have no idea where the year went. I remember trying to plan the first half of the year for the webcast, and it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Now we're practically through 2021. It's been crazy. So, the beginning of each month, if you've never joined us before, we take a look at what's up in the nighttime sky, and hopefully you can get out there and check out some of these cool things. So we're going to dive right into it. If you have any questions, we do have the chat open. I'll be happy to answer any of those for you. But without further ado, we're just going to get started. We've got our new layout for the webcast going right now. So, yeah. I hope you guys like it. We're trying to make sure this is even cleaner. See, our transitions are clean too. I can pop myself right up in the corner and we're good to go. I am going to get our website out of the way and we're going to get going. So, biggest thing in the nighttime sky, I think we all know, that is the moon. And we need to kind of plan our month around that so we can get to our observing... let me switch stuff. There we go. We can plan our observing around the moon up there. So, new moon for the month of October is October 6th. And that's next week. My goodness. So, the way this works is because the moon lands in the middle of the week, or the new moon lands in the middle of the week, we technically have 2 weekends that we can get out and do observing on. And the first one would be this weekend, the 3rd and 4th. Why do I have the 3rd and 4th? I'm sorry, I offset the date there. It should have been the 2nd and the 3rd. My bad on that. So, there's this weekend would be a good chance to get out. And then, of course, next weekend, that one is correct, the 9th and the 10th. I knew that one was good to go. So, yeah. You're going out this weekend or you're going out next weekend, both good times. We are going to have a little bit of a crescent moon next weekend on the 9th and 10th, but that's going to go away by the time it actually gets dark. So, yeah, if you want to get out this weekend or next weekend would be the time to do that. So hopefully you guys have some, I know we have some friends of ours that are heading out to dark skies this weekend to take some cool images, or just get out and observe. Now is the time to do it while it's still a little warm out. before we start slipping into the winter or deeper into the fall or autumn months, because it is autumn officially as like a week ago. So whatever. Full moon is on October 20th, so we won't get a moon to show for trick-or-treaters this year. It's going to be later in the evening, so unfortunately, but we do have some cool planets up that we're going to talk about here shortly, but we won't have a bright moon to show trick-or-treaters this year. If you're one of those like myself who likes to set up outside and share the night sky with people for the holiday, at least here in the US, North America, I guess. Full moon, like I said, is October 20th. This is the Hunter's moon. A lot of people think it's the harvest moon. It kind of depends on how the season works, but it is the harvest moon for September usually, and then the Hunter's moon is usually October, but it just depends on how all that works out. So this moon provides illumination to hunters to go out and catch things and hunt things down before the winter months really start. So that's where it gets its name from. You can always go to Farmer's Almanac. That's where I get all the information and folklore about the full moon. So it's kind of a cool thing to see. It's also good tips and little tricks to tell people, good information, fact information that you can provide during an outreach event on why the full moons get their name and all this other fun stuff. So Farmer's Almanac, that's where you get all this information for the full moon. So hopefully that works out for you guys. But yes, October 20th, which is a Wednesday, is the full moon for the month of October. Planets. Now, we have a bunch of planets up right now. It's a very good time if you're actually into observing the planets. The first one, of course, is Venus. Venus is in the early evening, just as the sun goes down. It's nice and high there in the west, in the twilight sky. You can easily see it naked eye. It's a great object to try and view when you're just getting started, or if you've got a small telescope, it's a fun object to check out. Right now, it's at a gibbous phase. The image that you see on the screen there is a crescent. Then we get into the quarters, and then the gibbous phase right now. So it's actually moving towards a crescent right now, but right now we're still in gibbous phase. But by the end of the month, we should be right around the quarter phase coming up. So I'm gonna pop up. Sorry, I'm gonna figure out how to get rid of my taskbar down there. It's supposed to disappear. This is a brand new machine we got specifically for the webcast. That's crazy fast, so we won't have any more hiccups. So hopefully everything sounds really good and is smooth today, because we're running on a very, very fast gaming machine now. So this is the nighttime sky. Actually, let me just go to full screen real quick. Boop. So this is the nighttime sky right now, at least in North America, from roughly where I'm at. This is Stellarium. It's a free software that you can get online. I just downloaded it this morning onto this new machine. But it's just a free software. It's a planetarium software. You can do telescope control with it with the right drivers. You'll have to mess around with that though. But it's a great software to kind of look around and see what's up, especially, on your computer. I think they make an app for it, app version now, but I like it. It's an easy one, and it's got decent graphics for a free app. So this is right about 7 o'clock tonight. Venus is going to be nice and visible. It's out there in the west, southwest, but as the month progresses, it's going to keep moving over to the southwest into the core of the Milky Way by the middle of Halloween, or by Halloween. And at that point, let me see if I can zoom in here real quick. It's going to start getting into that. Let me just pause this. Try to pause it. I don't know where all my stuff went. There we go. It's hiding in my taskbar. That's supposed to be gone. By the end of the month, we will have Venus in the in a quarter phase. So the phase will be shifting here soon. So keep an eye on it. Go out, observe Venus. You can see the phases with that with a small telescope. So it's kind of a cool thing to see. It's easy to see. If you want to get rid of the glare, maybe it's too bright, I would recommend using like a moon filter or a polarizing filter to help dim down the brightness of the planet. A polarizing or a moon filter will definitely help you see the phases of the moon better. So that would be my recommendation for you there. Moving on. Next one in line. Well, it's not actually the next one in the line of planets across the sky, but it is the going out from Earth, would be Jupiter. Jupiter is practically in the opposite side of the sky at the same time as Venus. So this is naked eye visible right after sunset. It's high in the eastern sky, and it's visible throughout up until about midnight is when it starts to set. And again, it's a very easy one to see. Let me pop this back up. Let me actually go to the beginning of the month. And so we're looking south right now. This is about 7 o'clock this evening. So we got Venus over there. You've got Jupiter over here, really high in the southeastern sky. It is the brightest thing in the southeast sky right now, so you should be able to find it. Now, Jupiter is a fun one, and tonight actually, at least from my vantage point, this is 7 p.m. Pacific time. Looks like we actually have quite a show. All the moons are going to be lined up. I'm going to actually take this to full screen so you guys can see. All the moons are going to be lined up, and right dead center is the red spot. So tonight at what would be 7 p.m. Pacific time, adjust accordingly to your location. But it looks like we've got a perfect lineup right in a row. We've got Europa, Io, red spot on Jupiter, Ganymede, and Callisto all together. So if you want to get out and take a look at Jupiter tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific time, you'd be able to get all this stuff there. So it's a Kodak moment. But Jupiter is a really fun planet to take a look at because it's got the moons there. They change so quickly. Jupiter rotates about every 10 hours. So it's flinging those moons all over the place. So a fun thing to do with your kids or whatever, whoever you want to do, or even yourself, is go out and actually jot down the positions of the moon night after night. That's the same thing Galileo did. It's just kind of a fun observing project that you or your family or you guys can all do together. But it is a very cool thing to take a look at. And then, of course, the red spot, that's always a fun thing to see. If you want to observe the red spot, I like using filters with that. You're probably going to want at least 100 power for planetary, probably closer to 150 or more. Do remember that when you are observing planets and you are adding higher magnifications to your telescope, the seeing conditions or the local conditions, and not talking about the darkness, I'm talking about the stability of the sky, they need to be good in order to support the really high magnifications that you might be using. So probably minimum for observing planets would be about 100x. If you could get up to 150, that's better. And then when you start pushing to 200 and 300 power, things get really impressive. But everything has to be, everything is controlled by the seeing conditions. So let your telescope cool off, give it about 30 minutes, go get some dinner, set it up. Let the optics cool off, reach the ambient temperature, and then try it. If the magnification is too high, back it off. Give it a go. Experiment with it. See what you can get out of it. But if you're trying to observe the planets, especially Jupiter and Saturn, and you're trying to get detail out of it, you're probably going to be looking somewhere between 150 and 300 power to get some really cool stuff out of it. But you're just going to have to mess around with your telescope. And do remember that just because you might have a night your telescope isn't producing nice images, that doesn't always mean it's just the telescope. But you need to let it acclimate, and you need to make sure the conditions are going to be good for the night in order for you to get the best out of the seeing conditions for the best views out of your telescope. Everything is dictated by the seeing conditions. We have a whole episode covering that. So if you want to go back and take a look at that, we have that episode saved away that you can go take a look at it. Next planet, my personal favorite, a lot of people's personal favorites, and the reason probably why a chunk of us are actually in this hobby is Saturn. Saturn is sitting just in front of Jupiter. It's visible right after the sun goes down, just ahead of it. And that's how they're going to be pretty much this whole planet season. Will be Jupiter and Saturn kind of paired together as they cross the southern portion of the sky out there. Saturn's going to set right around midnight right now. So if you're into planetary imaging and you want to get some good stuff, basically right as the sun goes down, the planets are in a very good position to start hitting that and taking some good images. Again, depends on the seeing conditions and giving your telescope time to acclimate to the outside air is going to be very important. But Saturn, back this off right there, just in front of Jupiter. And like I said, it's going to be visible till about midnight tonight. Obviously, that's going to get earlier and earlier as the next month or a few weeks spans. So we're going to have plenty of time to see Saturn. But if you're into planetary imaging, it's really well placed right after sunset. So go out, check it out. It's definitely an awesome planet to show friends and family. Again, same thing, same rules apply. 100 power minimum. If you could get to 150, better. But somewhere between 150 and 300 power is probably where a lot of really cool planetary observing starts. But again, it's all going to come down to, is your telescope acclimated, and is the seeing conditions going to allow you to push that kind of magnification? And if the seeing is really good, push it further. See what happens. I have a lot of people that I've talked to. They're like, oh yeah, don't do it. It's not going to look good. And presently surprised it might actually look good. Don't be afraid to experiment with filters. Try high magnifications. Just try it. If it doesn't work, take it out. Try something else. No big deal. So that is pretty much the visible planets. Pluto is floating out there as well, right around Sagittarius, I think is where Pluto's at right now. That's kind of a fun one if you're doing astrophotography. You can take a picture one night and then take a picture like 3 nights later and do a blink comparison to actually find it. But that's something you can do too. But obviously you're going to need, a big telescope to catch Pluto. It's going to look like a tiny star. So there's not a lot to obviously see there. But the highlight planets, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, they're all there. Great planets to go out and observe. So that is that. And that actually wraps up the planets too. Now, the sun. I don't change these slides because I don't have to. And basically, it's all the same. Activity on the sun is increasing. It's actually getting a lot better recently. So I bring this up each month. And let me see if I can find it. Which one did I do this under? That's not it. Here we go. So I like to use this website to actually see what's going up on the sun, because that's the best way to do it. And so basically what we're looking at here is almost live. I'm going to actually switch this to full screen so you guys can see it better, but almost live views of the sun right now in hydrogen alpha. So what you can see, I'm going to pop up Hawaii's solar telescope from Mauna Loa. It's not going to let me. Interesting. Only some of them can be blown up. That's weird. All right. Well, there's the Big Bear Solar Observatory from California. You can see there's a really big, nice prominence up there right now. So if you have an H-alpha solar telescope, might have to go throw one out and look at that. There's a nice prominence there. There's some active regions and sunspots that are on the edge there. So that's a kind of a good spot to actually start catching up. There's another active region with some sunspots and some other cool prominences with a little bit of a filament. My buddy Brian, who works at Lunt Solar Systems, like to call that bacon, where the filament wraps over the edge into a prominence. He calls it bacon. But there is some good stuff up there. So really highly recommend getting out there and start observing the sun there and see what's going on up there. So, but it is active. It is getting better. So definitely, if you want to take a look at it, just type in GONG, G-O-N-G, H-alpha into Google. It'll take you to this site. And the nice thing about that is it gives you all the current stuff that's going on. Mauna Loa's got a really nice image of it from Hawaii. But yeah, so that's where I go if I want to take a look at what's going up on the sun. So hopefully that works out for you guys as well. So there you go. That's how I actually observe the sun. It is a great object to observe because it changes so often. You can image it, you can observe it, you can sketch it, whatever you want to do. The sun is a really dynamic object, so I highly recommend taking a look at it. It is a fun one, especially if you have a hydrogen alpha telescope, like something like a Lunt or a Coronado or the Day Stars. All of those are great options to get out and start observing the sun and hydrogen alpha. So something to check out. Oh, and I missed that bullet point right there. But meteor showers. Last month we had nothing. September has no major meteor showers, but October makes up for that because it's got 2. So the first meteor shower is the Draconids. I'm sure I butchered that, but Draconids. October 8th, so next week, right during new moon, or just about 2 days after new moon. These ones are really unique because they're really radiant in the early evening hours. Most meteor showers are after midnight, as best as when they work out, but this one just so happens that it works out better before midnight. So go out, check it out, especially if you're going to be able to get out to some dark skies the next week or so. You might have a better chance of catching them. I didn't find what the per hour ratio was on this. I'll have to look that up next time, but it's definitely a good one. Something to take a look at. And because there's no moon in the sky, you're going to have a chance of catching more of them because of the timing and how well placed all of that is. So that's the Draconids. Major peak is October 8th, which is next Friday. So if you're going out to a dark sky site next weekend, drive out Friday, set up. You should have a nice view of the Draconid meteor showers from a dark sky site next weekend. So awesome. Good for you. Next one is the Orionids. The Orionids is October 21st, which is the day after full moon. These are not as well placed this year because of how the moon and everything works out. So the Orionids are about 10 to 20 per hour. These are fast-moving meteors, and they generally like to leave trails or streaks across the sky when they come in. Not sure why that is. I'd have to do some more research on it, but that's the Orionids. Some of the bright stuff, ones you might be able to see from town and with the full moon up, but we're going to have a very, very bright moon during the Orionids this year, so it's not as well placed. But the Draconids probably starting this weekend, but peaking on October 8th would be very, very nice to get out and check out. So there you go. Those are the 2 meteor showers for the month there. We kind of lucked out because we have 2 big named meteor showers happening this month. Now, another one that people ask about all the time is comets. I don't put a slide in for comets because it's not worth doing a slide because they change too much. So another website I like to use is Comet Chasing. It's cometchasing.skyhound.com. And let me go to full screen for you guys there. This lists all the major comets that are coming up or might be interesting to anybody. So you can go over. It's a great website. It's got all kinds of notes and stuff on it. And then you can come down here and it tells you all about the real specifications of the comets that are visible. Looks like the biggest one for the northern hemisphere is the C 2019 L3 Atlas. Right now it's at 10th magnitude, so that's kind of like a dark sky, probably 6-inch telescope target. Looks like it's nice and high right now. So if we go to the finder chart, we can pull that up right there. They give you this really nice PDF finder chart for these, so that's why I like them. So it looks like, yeah, it's right up. There's Gemini down here. So it's in a well-placed later in the evening object. So might be fun one to get out and try to observe, see what you can see on it, or try to throw a camera on it and check it out. And over the next, let's see, this takes us all the way through. This chart's outdated, so they need to update this one actually. It's pretty much wrapped up for the month of September. So they're going to have to do an updated PDF for October. But that is still visible. That one right there is looking like, yeah, you need about a 6-inch telescope. It doesn't look like we have any bright stuff right now. If it's bright enough, you would definitely hear about it because everybody loves to watch comets. But it's got some cool notes. There's a new discovery, C 2021-01. So there's one that's kind of come up. But there's all kinds of notes on all the visible comets right now. So it's a very cool website if you're into comets. There you go. It does cover both northern and southern hemisphere. So definitely take a look at it, see what you can see out of it, and give it a go. But yeah, that is cometchasing.skyhound.com right up there at the top if you want to look that up. That's the website I like to use for observing comets. Gives you all the information that you'd ever want to know about it. So there you go. That's it for comets. Now, deep sky. My favorite topic personally, because there's all kinds of cool stuff to check out. Pretty much to start it out, it's October. October, I think, is kind of the last stitch effort if you want to get out and do some Milky Way work. Let me pull up Stellarium real quick. Here's the Milky Way right here. Should have made it brighter, but you guys can see it. So right now, right as it gets dark, the Milky Way is practically straight up, popping out of the southwest, and goes directly overhead. But by the end of the month, as we start to move forward, the moon's going to become a factor. But by the time we get to November, you're still going to have a really nice section of the Milky Way. The core is starting to go down completely. So October, moving into November, we're going to start getting to the end of the summer Milky Way season. Then we'll have a transition through autumn, and then we get the Milky... Everyone says, oh, the Milky Way season, it's the summertime. No, it's not. That's the summer Milky Way. There's the winter Milky Way is just as beautiful, but it's not as big and bright, but it has a lot more complex things visible. Lots of hydrogen, star-forming regions are visible up in the wintertime, but it's not as blazingly bright as the summer Milky Way is. You need to be in dark skies, and you probably need to have some kind of tracker because it's a lot fainter, but there's a lot of very odd, complex nebulas and structures that are up in the wintertime Milky Way. So I understand summer Milky Way is big and easy and bright. Your phone can do it at this point. But don't knock the winter Milky Way. There's a lot of neat things in there. But if you want to get out and you want to do some Milky Way stuff, we're kind of nearing the end of the season for the summer Milky Way. So now is the time to get out and check it out. Now, objects. First object, or objects in this case, is NGC 869 and 884, the double cluster. It's up in Perseus, 7,500 light years away. It's a very easy target to observe in almost any size optic. You can see it in binoculars. You can see it in small finder scopes. Any size telescope. Even from the average backyard, you should be able to see the double cluster. It's a fun one to show. I've done it for outreach events for years. It's just easy to see. Very complex collection of two open star clusters up there in Perseus. It's just an easy one to show. It's a lot of stars. It's very impressive in a dark sky site, especially if you have a wide field telescope. It's just the expanse of stars in the field is amazing. For imaging, it's a star cluster. You don't need anything fancy for it. You can use one-shot color. It's easy to shoot in town. It's not really affected all that much by light pollution. I mean, it is, but there's nothing you can really do about it. There's no faint nebulosity or anything you have to tease out of this. It's just you shoot it, and there you go. That's what you get. So you can get some really nice pictures of the double cluster. I'm going to have to try it, actually. It's been a while. This is an old picture of the double cluster. It's all I had, but it's an easy object to shoot in town. Dark skies, obviously, but it's just an all-around cool cluster to show people or observe or image or whatever you want to do. Great object to come check out. And let me pop Stellarium up here real quick. And Pop this back up. If you're wondering where the double cluster is, it's right over here in Perseus. So you're going to find Cassiopeia. It's rising over there in the northeast. Double cluster, well, that's a star in the double cluster. That's close, so whatever. There we go, double cluster. So there's Cassiopeia. This is, 8 o'clock at night. It should be high enough to start seeing. It's rising over there. Just below Cassiopeia, halfway between Cassiopeia, and it's technically in Perseus, but the major constellation. It's about halfway between the two. Right there. It is naked eye visible in a dark sky. It looks like a little fuzzy out there, but you can see it. It doesn't have to be tremendously dark, just a little bit dark, and you can actually start to see the glow naked eye. It's only 7,500 light years away, so it's not, too crazy. But yep, very cool cluster to check out. So that's a good one to start the list off. It's good in any size telescope. There you go. M33, the Triangulum Galaxy. It's 3.2 million light years away. It's right next door to M31. The Andromeda Galaxy, or M31, which we'll get to here in a second, is probably the most photographed galaxy in the northern hemisphere, if not the sky, because it's the closest and the brightest galaxy we can see at 2.5 million light years. But right next door is M33. And M33 is not as vibrant or easy to see as its neighbor is, but it is still very large. It's a little bit more diffuse than M31 is, so it's a little harder to see. You can see it in town, but it's going to look like a smudge. When you get out to darker skies, it's much more spectacular because the detail in the arms is not as structured as M31 is. So it's harder to get the detail in this one because of just how it kind of diffuses out from the core. It's excellent in dark skies. You can see it in a pair of binoculars in dark skies. 4-inch telescope or bigger. The bigger the telescope, the more aperture, the more light you're going to get. Easier to resolve more detail. For imaging, it works on a wide variety of focal lengths. It's primarily a visual or, color, object, but adding some H-alpha data in there can really help pop out these star forming regions. Let me just go to the full thing here and we'll transition there. So this is the full shot. We shot this last month, finished this one up. This is M33. This was actually taken with an Esprit 150 and a ZWO 6200. So at 1,000 millimeters with a full frame camera, it frames it up really well. Now, if you have a crop sensor, something smaller, I would probably try something between 500 and 800 millimeter focal length would probably help frame this up as well if you don't have the full frame sensor, and it would still give you a real nice shot there. But it's an excellent object to shoot right now. It's in a good position because you can actually image it, so this is 8 o'clock. There's Andromeda. M33 is right here. Come on, computer. Oh, Stellarium doesn't want to listen to me. Anyway, right where those crosshairs are, that's where M33 is. At 8 o'clock, I would probably say 9 o'clock. Excuse me. Probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock, right after astronomical twilight, when it's officially dark, you can start imaging M31, and you can pretty much go all night, and it's going to go way overhead for us here in the northern hemisphere. So it crosses a very nice part of the sky where you're not down in the muck and the seeing conditions are really affecting it because it sits so high in the sky. So M33 has a really long shelf life for imaging or observing it this time of year. And what's really cool about M33, besides, how it's diffuse, it's got all these cool dust lanes, but it's got some really hefty star forming regions in there. So if you have the ability of shooting hydrogen alpha, here's M33 H-alpha data. You can take this H-alpha data and apply that onto your color image, and it will help pop out those pinkish star forming nebula regions that are scattered throughout the galaxy there. you don't need to do that, but if you have the capability to do that, it does make a difference there. So definitely recommend shooting some hydrogen alpha data, an M33. That's really the only narrowband capability you're going to get out of M33, however. So don't waste your time with like sulfur or O3, because you're probably not going to get much of anything out of it. You could try it if you want, but it's really more of a visible, LRGB or one-shot color, and then add a little hydrogen in there to pop out the star-forming regions in the nebula there. So hopefully that helps. Another big one, IC 1805, the Heart Nebula. This is the stuff I'm talking about when everyone kind of puts down the winter Milky Ways. They're like, oh, Milky Way season's over. Stuff like the Heart and the Soul Nebula, which I should have done, but it's right next door to the Heart. Stuff like this, big nebula regions kind of cluster through the winter Milky Way. So this is near Cassiopeia, 6,200 light years away. It's very faint. You can probably see some of the brighter structures, like this part down here and the center part of the Heart, from darker skies. I would probably recommend something like a UHC or O3 filter to help you to see more detail in there. I have to try this. It's been a while since I've actually tried the Heart Nebula, but I'd probably say at least a 4-inch, like a nice wide 4-inch refractor. You could probably get some nice detail out of it, especially with something like a UHC. Larger apertures, they're going to be able to pull more detail out of it, but you're not going to be able to get the whole thing because it's a very large object. So you're going to need some wide field optics to catch all of it, or take it piece at a time. For imaging, like I said, very wide field target. It's a couple degrees, I think, across. This was taken with a Canon 200mm f2.8 prime lens with a Starlight 694, so pretty small sensor by today's standards. In hydrogen alpha from the backyard. It is an emission nebula, so it does emit its own light and it makes it easy for narrowband filters to catch it. So if you don't have the option to get out to dark skies very often, but you have a narrowband filter set, this is an easy one to do from the backyard with those filters. Of course, you can also do color and visual light with it. It's red. It's a hydrogen. It's an H2 region, so it's going to be pink, red color. So, but that is the Heart Nebula, and do check out the Soul Nebula right next to it. If you have a wide enough field of view, you can actually get both of them in there. It's kind of a cool object to see. There's the full frame Heart. My focus was a little bit off on that one, but you get the gist of it. Andromeda, probably the biggest target in the autumn season is Andromeda, at least until we get Orion coming up in the next few weeks, when that nebula really starts to become more visible in the evening skies. Andromeda is the easiest galaxy to see. It's the furthest thing you can actually see with your naked eye, by the way. 2.5 million light years away. Literally anything is good to observe Andromeda with. It all depends on where you're at, but you can see Andromeda from an average backyard with a pair of binoculars. It's going to look like a smudge. To big telescopes. Big telescopes are going to help pull out the dark dust lanes there a little bit better, but it's easy to see from your backyard. It's not going to be super exciting from the average observing location, probably your backyard, anything with light pollution. But if you get to a dark sky site, you will notice the expanse of the arms. It's a pretty big object, actually. I actually find the best way to observe it is with a good, decent-sized pair of binoculars. And you really get the emphasis on just how large the Andromeda Galaxy is with a pair of binoculars from dark skies, because it takes up a big chunk of the sky at that point. It is a fun one to use on almost any size aperture optic. Like I said, binoculars are a really nice view. Or you can take a bigger telescope and you can kind of zoom in, checking out different details. Andromeda has a ton of globular clusters that you can also observe. I'll have to throw that into next month, like a challenge object. Next month, maybe do something like that and show all that. For imaging, again, you could shoot it with anything you want. You know, something really wide, like a 135 looks really neat, to about 1,000 millimeter. Or you can go even bigger and zoom in on certain regions of Andromeda. Again, Andromeda is very much like M33, where a little bit of H-alpha data will help pop it out a little bit in the star-forming regions. But it's a great galaxy to work on, and if this is like your first year in astronomy, and you haven't done the full first 12 months, this is a great object to get out and start observing, and it's something you can do from your average backyard. So that is Andromeda. Basically, let me just go full frame here, but basically easy to do. This image right here was taken from a dark sky site. This is with the Esprit 150 and a 6200 camera. It has like a couple hours of data, like 2, I think, something like that. Really doesn't do much. Great object to shoot with like a 7200 on a star tracker. It's a very cool object to go out. It's easy to do. Now, a little bit off the deep end, a little bit more exotic. This is Vandenberg I. Ah, dang it. It's not the Seahorse Nebula. I'm sorry. This is in Cassiopeia, about 1,600 light years away. The bright star you see there, I believe, is the bright star Calf in Cassiopeia. This is a very faint nebula. It's a dark / reflection nebula. So narrowband filters really have no effect here. This is straight up dark sky target. And you want to make sure you got a telescope that's well baffled as well, because the bright star Calf, which you see dead center there, that is a naked eye star. Even from light polluted skies, that is a naked eye star. So it is very, very bright. So make sure you've got some good filters in there, because you are going to get major glare and halos off of that if you don't have a good set of filters or your system's not ready to handle that. Visually, this is probably a big challenge target, but go out and try it. And no narrowband, you just got to go. Let me go full frame again. This up here is Vandenberg I. There's a reflection nebula. It's got some dark stuff going on there. Longer focal length might help kind of isolate it a little bit more. There's some really nice pictures in there, and you get Calf out of the field of view. I don't have that kind of setup available at the moment, so it's the whole field there. But it's very, very dense star cluster, lots of nebulosity. You can see this big cloud, this molecular cloud kind of goes all over the place here until we get to the dark part of space back there. So this whole area is basically nebulosity as well, but give that a go. Try it in a dark sky site. See what you can get out of it. It's a good challenge target because it's next to a bright star. But that is Vandenberg I. NGC 1499, the California Nebula, Perseus, 1,000 light years away. This is a big object. I don't know if it's 3 degrees wide, but it's several degrees. You need something like a fast 4-inch refractor. I think one of the best views I've ever seen was a Teleview NP101 with like a 30 millimeter or something in it. It is faint. This is one of those objects that you hear about on why should I get an H-beta filter? Because this is one of the objects that really shine with an H-beta filter. UHC filters will work as well if you don't have an H-beta, but you're gonna need dark skies to catch this thing. It's big, it is faint, and you just need dark skies to do it. The filters do help though, UHC or H-beta. H-beta I think does a better job, but take your time on it. Imaging, however, it works good in visual or narrowband. You can shoot it from home in the city. It's a very good object to shoot, what would that be? Hubble palettes on. It's got a lot going on for all the different signals in there. HA03S2, got a lot going on in there. This is a 200 millimeter lens. I don't remember the camera that shot this. I think it was a 16200 from Starlight Express. That's got some really nice wisps going off of it, but it's a very cool region to shoot up there in Perseus. It's not far from the Pleiades. We're getting to that next month. And of course, make sure you've got wide field optics to catch the whole thing, because it's several degrees across to catch it. So lots of wide field stuff. Be a good star tracker target as well. But that's the California Nebula in Perseus. There's the full frame there for you guys to see. You can see all this little wispy stuff coming off of it. Kind of cool detail in there, but I'll have to retry. It's been a while since I've shot this. Let's go back to something easier. M15 in the constellation of Pegasus. 33,000 light years away. It's a great globular cluster. It's an awesome outreach object. It's easy to see from a backyard. 4-inch telescope. You can see the little puff of stars up there. Bigger telescopes are going to help resolve the detail a little bit more. But it's a good one. You can image it from town. Again, the star clusters are super forgiving when you image it in town. We shot this last month again with the Esprit 150. What we did find, which I've never seen before, is this nebulosity down here. This is basically just flux nebula in the region. This is exceedingly faint right here, this nebulosity that sits near M15. Like I said, I've never seen it before. This is the advantage of A, dark skies, and B, modern technology. These new cameras are crazy sensitive. I'm talking about like the IMX455 sensor that's in the ZWO 6200, and I think it's the QHY 600. And then there's the 2600, ZWO 2600. It's like 500 and 571 or something, I think is the name of the sensor. But these modern day cameras that are super sensitive, high QE cameras, in dark skies, you will be amazed what kind of stuff you're going to start pulling out, especially if you're shooting monochrome with really good luminance data. This actually didn't have any luminance. This was one shot color that shot this one. This was a color 6200 camera on another Esprit 150. But these modern cameras, it's crazy the stuff that we're able to pull out now. So yeah, check it out. Look for some weird stuff in your images. So that's M15. It's a great object to do from home visually. It's a great object to image. And then, yeah, look for this dust nebula that's floating out there. Kind of neat. Here's another one. Vandenberg 141, the Ghost Nebula. This is in Cepheus. This is another one of those real dusty nebulas. You've probably figured out I like shooting these weird things. About 1,470 light years away. This is very difficult visually. It's actually really small, so you're probably going to want like a decent sized Dobsonian from dark skies. I'd probably say 14-inch or bigger to really go after it, but it's fairly small. Dark skies, there are no filters that can help you out with nebulas like this. You're just on your own. Imaging, it's exactly the same way. These molecular clouds that really kind of cloud over Cepheus and Perseus and all that, region of the outer Milky Way arms. All of this is only dark skies. There is no narrow band filter option. It is just straight up exposure time and dark skies. So good challenge target. That's the Ghost Nebula. It's really cool. It's got lots of nebulosity in the region, but we're actually talking about this section right here. That is the Ghost Nebula. But go after that. Try it out. It is faint, but it's a fun one to try. There's the full frame shot there, but you can see all that molecular dust up there, and then you have the ghost right in the center there. So galaxies. This was just a quick data set that I had for luminance. I didn't have a color set finished for it yet. The Sculptor Galaxy NGC 253. This is big. This is a big galaxy. It's 12 million light years away. The first time I really saw this thing from a dark sky, it was in a 25-inch Obsession, and we were looking for it. The owner was showing, this was years ago. It is staggeringly good size for a galaxy. It's out in the southwest sky. It's probably visible in a 4-inch telescope from dark skies. But yeah, if you've got something around 1,000 millimeter, 2,000 millimeter, you'll be amazed at how big the galaxy actually is. And there's some cool detail in the core there. So definitely try that out. For imaging, again, it's just going to be color. Galaxies are kind of tough, and this one particularly because it does sit low in the southwest. So the further south you are, the higher this galaxy will be for you. The further north you are, so if you're in the northern U.S. and Canada, this object is going to be fairly low for you to get. But check it out, see if you can get it. But yeah, that is the Sculptor Galaxy NGC 253, 12 million light years away. Very nice galaxy to go after. Got some good detail, but pretty easy to process and work with. So if you're trying to image it. Again, this is a 1,000 millimeter full frame system. You know, you got like a smaller crop sensor, probably say somewhere between 600 and 800 or 900 millimeter focal. Even 1,000 would, on a crop sensor, would just get you a tighter framing of this. So it's a good galaxy to try out. It's a fun one to do. There's the full frame image right there for you guys to actually see. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the month of October. There's a ton of stuff up there, so hopefully you guys can go out and check it out. There's so many things that we didn't get a chance to cover. We could spend a whole hour or more on objects that are up this time of year. We still have a lot of the highlight summer targets up. Cygnus is still up. You know, all those really high rising targets up in Cygnus are easy to go view and observe. That's still going to be around for another month. So we're kind of in a cool season right now where you can get really cool summer stuff and get the autumn and winter stuff as the sky moves into the later bits of the night. So definitely go out. Again, if you like what you see here at the What's Up Webcast, we really appreciate you hanging out on Friday mornings with us. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It does help us out and keeps this thing going. Leave a like on whatever videos you like. And if you have any questions, email us at info@skywatcherusa.com. We are always looking for ideas for new episodes, so please give us a shout out if you've got anything there. Yeah, so next week we are doing another equipment talk on our heritage Dobsonians. There are collapsible tabletop Dobs, the 130, and now we have a 150 that just started shipping over the last couple months. So we're going to be talking about that. These are kind of our intro beginner telescopes. They are not toys. These are full-fledged Newtonian parabolic mirrors, 5 and 6 inch apertures. So we're going to talk specs on those. Going to tell you a little bit about the 150, being that's brand new. But yeah, we will be talking about that next week. So thanks very much. And again, thanks for hanging out with us today. This is the What's Up Webcast. Every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. Thanks very much, everyone, and we will see you guys next Friday. Clear skies, and have a safe weekend. Take care.